Welcome to video guide 5A, adding players. In the last video, we created our teams and registered them to the league. Now we will be adding players so that parents can get logged in and start working on requirements. As mentioned before, these requirements are a picture, proof of birth, and R002 medical waiver. Additionally, if the player is 18 or older or will turn 18 during the season, they will have to do a safe sport course. Before we get into that though, I want to elaborate more on the concept of a role in GOT Sport. I've mentioned it a couple times in past videos, but didn't go in much detail. In GOT Sport, a role is used by a system to determine how it should handle a profile in the context of a club. It uses this in conjunction with the competitive level and affiliation you have seen come up already in past videos to determine what requirements are visible for that member. For example, the site sees that a person has a role of player with a US club affiliation and competitive level, so it knows to give that profile the option to upload a proof of birth to US club and complete the R002 medical waiver, because those are both US club specific requirements. This carries over to how the system handles the role of coach and team manager as well. So with that in mind, you will have a much easier time getting players added and avoid many headaches down the road. Next, let's talk about getting these players added. There are two ways to add players to your dashboard: manually, one at a time, or importing multiple players at once via an import. I only recommend the manual method if you are adding just a handful of players, but that is most likely only going to be the case during the season after the initial rostering is already done. Adding players one at a time is straightforward, though tedious. There will be a supplementary video in the Club Admin Common Issues playlist elaborating further on that. Thankfully, GOT Sport have made the import process fairly painless. From your club dashboard, select the Players tab under Club Management. At the top of the page, click Upload Players. You'll see some instructions in the box on the right of the page and an upload section on the left. Click Download Template with only required columns. This CSV will be your import file, so make sure you keep it as a CSV file and don't save it as a workbook or the import will fail. So if you have a spreadsheet already that you use to collect player/parent information, then you can just copy and paste those columns into the import file to save yourself some time. I just want to quickly make a couple notes about some of the columns here. The date of birth column must be formatted so that the zeros are included in the date, or the import will fail. To do this, just highlight the column and right-click it, then select Format Cells. In the window that appears, select Custom at the bottom of the left side list. Now just enter mm/dd/YYYY and click OK. Set the competitive level to competitive. If you do not have an address for all players, you can enter placeholder information that the parents can correct once they get logged in. The information shown on my template here will satisfy that import, so feel free to use these. The information for the parent name and email user ID will be used to create the parent profile in addition to the player profile is attached to. They will use this to log in and access GOT Sport. Note that if someone in your import does match a pre-existing profile on GOT Sport, the system will recognize this and add the pre-existing profile to your dashboard. If you just wanted to add these players to the dashboard but not assign them to a team just yet, then you could just stop now and use the import file as it is. However, if you want to also assign them to a team now, you can do that as well using this import. Note that you can make changes to rosters using imports later using one of the video guides in the Club Admin Common Issues playlist. There's nothing forcing you to add them to the team now versus later. In order to assign them to a team now, you'll need to add a few columns to your import file: team name, team age, and team gender. Make sure these match exactly as shown when you view the team in GOT Sport. Once you have your import file ready and you confirm that it is still a CSV file, you're ready to upload the file. Back on that Upload Players page, we can now use that left side box. Select US Club from the Affiliation drop-down menu. Leave this box checked. Leave this drop-down menu as is. Check Team Upload box, only if you are assigning the teams now. Select the file. Click Open. On the next page, you will get to preview the import and make sure that the system matched all the columns properly. Since we use the import template, all columns should be assigned correctly except for maybe the last 3 columns we added. Just select the correct option from the drop-down menu of those 3 columns if they aren't already set. Click Import Data. You will get a confirmation message that says the import is being processed, and you will get an email when the import is complete. You should get that email almost immediately unless you are adding an absurd number of players at once, in which case it may take up to 15 minutes or so. If the import was a success, you will now see all of your players in the Players tab under Club Management. If there was an error during the import, it will tell you which row had the error so you can determine which player had that error. You can use the previously mentioned Club Admin Common Issues playlist if you are having issues with the import. If you assign teams to your players during this import, then we will finish the next step of that process during video guide number 7, after we get the coaches added into the system. If you did not assign teams, then you'll still be able to use video guide number 7 to roster your players. But before we get to rostering, we will need to add our coaches and team managers. And we'll get started on that in the next video.